Hey guys, so we are here with Taylor Turner.
Hello.
She is one of the pioneers along on this Bible study with all of us, and she is going to be sharing a little bit about her journey and some of the takeaways that she had from the video. So, you watched the video.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, before we get started, what do you want to share about yourself? I think you should share a little bit about your business.
Okay. I can definitely do that. So, first, I'm a big personality. So, welcome. Hi. And I would like to say, a really big part of why I came on here is because I wanted to share my experience with what I have going on in my life to see if anybody else can find it relatable or can find it interesting. Because the more questions that we ask, the more that we can find each other on the same journey and walk together. So, with that note, thank you for starting this and thank you for bringing me on. I am a style coach and I develop and maintain your personal style, and I'm the CEO and founder of Top and Tier.
Wow. And how old are you?
28 years old.
She's such a spitfire.
I'm 29. I had a birthday.
So like my hair was a mess just before we started, and she fixed it, put me in the right place and everything. So I'm not even going to show you the behind the scenes of what it looks like if I would be in a different position, because you don't need to see that. What you need to know is that Taylor helped me present myself in the best way, literally within like 2 minutes. It was amazing.
It's good to have a next eye on the prize.
Yes.
Once you have another eye, you have a different impression of
Very
anything.
true.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
yes.
One of the reasons that I wanted you to be part of this week is because when we were at the virtual campfire last week, you brought up something that I learned in recent years that changed my life, that goes against what I learned growing up in the church. And I was completely and utterly fascinated with the fact that you had come to this understanding just between you and God. It kind of was like a duh. But to me, it was life changing because I was indoctrinated and taught a different way growing up. And it was so perfect because it actually fits in to the topic this week.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, Taylor, you would be perfect to this week. So please be our pioneer.
Yes.
So the comment that she talked about was the effect sin had.
Correct.
So when Adam and Eve sinned, because they both did sin, and what we call the fall of humanity happened, sin didn't enter the human race, it entered the world. And then it was like you very clearly saw it. It's not that we're born with sin in us, but the pressure of sin is around us.
Yep.
So I found that to be like, whoa, that's so cool. And it was kind of awesome to see how logical and even without being a scholar in scriptures, that's just very, very simple. But for those of, if you're like me and you were taught different, it took a lot to get that thought out, because we were ingrained with the idea that when we were born, we had sin in us. But it changed me, and what sparked the change was because God started to talk to me a lot about how we were made in his image and likeness. And then when I put it up against the belief that we're born with sin, I was like, hold up a second. Those two don't go together.
Yep.
So you watched this week's video, and you have the book and all that. So what part of this week's teaching kind of stood out to you the most?
That's a good question. So I did watch the whole thing, by the way. Did not skip anything. I definitely wouldn't skip. So the most that I found intriguing was finding what's in your heart. And I would say once you find what's in your heart, you have a target that's led for you to find your purpose. And that's super enticing to me, and I feel like it would be enticing to other people, because once you find your heart, you know the right intentions behind it, you know the opportunities that are going to come your way, and you can have full trust and commitment in Christ because he's delivering those things to you at your time. I've noticed also being as young as I am, I'm not as wise as my peers. So I take all of their experiences of what they've been through and I apply them to my life at the right time. I may not go through what you've gone through in 5 seconds or what I'm going to hear from you, but I definitely can understand and have empathy towards that person and create that relationship and bond that will bring us closer so we can walk together in our journey with Christ. So finding your heart is very important to me.
Yeah, and one of the things was, we were talking a little bit before we started recording that the intention
Yes.
of the heart matters, right? And we were talking about
Yes.
how we were talking about that passage that mentions how the heart's deceitful and wicked.
Yes.
And how we're not born that way, but we can become that way. And one of the things that you happen to talk a lot about is taking ownership and responsibility for what you do, your decisions, and your behaviors.
Correct.
So, do you want to share a little bit about that, like how we have to kind of own and take responsibility for the direction that our life takes?
Sure. So, would you like an experience or would you like an idea? Okay, let's see. I'll give you how I started my business. This is a journey that set me off on a path that I never probably viewed for myself, and never knew who I was going to meet on this journey alone. So, it was April 2018, and Top and Tier was born. She was born with some notepads and some pretty little pencils and a little bit of phone calls. Like, what do you think? Is this a cute color? Do you like my name? Like, all these cute little identifiers that put me in a role to really start creating something. And when you're put in that position, you need to be very open minded. So, take you on this journey with me to explain how Top and Tier was created. So I was working one day at Nordstrom and I was having a great time. Of course, I was working with men and women. And when I realized that I got a phone call on the floor, I just decided to answer it. I'm a millennial. I'm going to answer anything. I'm going to text you. I'm a social media you, whatever. And lo and behold, you're not supposed to have your phone on the floor, of course. Who does? And just me. And so I'm talking to this client and he's like, "Hey, are you gonna be here at 2:30?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm just working right now. I'm super sorry." He's like, "Oh, what you're doing?" I'm just like, I'm working at Nordstrom." He's like, "I thought you were doing something on your own. I thought you were doing your own career." And I'm like, "I'm working on it. There's steps and processes in play." And he's like, "I just want to tell you from being a business owner for about 15 years, you need to commit fully to what you're doing.
Wow.
And if you're set on a plan to do something, you need to do it. You need to be dedicated to the process and you need to allow it to happen organically." I'm like, at that moment, I have goosebumps right now, guys. At that moment in time at Nordstrom, I had a manager tap me on the shoulder just regularly, like, "Hey, hi, I'm here." I'm like, "Hey," on the phone still. And she's like, "We're not supposed to be on the phone on the floor. Like, is there any way that you can step off?" I'm like, "Actually,
Oh my
no."
goodness, no, you did
I
not.
100%. I on the call. I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna see you at 2:30. I made my commitment and decision. Thank you for walking me through this." I hung up the phone. He wished me good luck, good wishes. He knows what's happening. And I said, "I quit." Yeah, you know what? I quit. Those words sounded so good. Sounded so good, so fresh. It gave me this weight that was just like automatically relieved off of me. Those pressures of the world of sin putting you in a direction that you don't need to be, just all over me, just lifted when I said, "I quit." I handed everything over to God at that moment because I had no idea what I was doing next. And rightfully so, not everyone gives you an entire business plan and say, "Hey, open your own business."
Right.
Bye. No, they don't do that. So it allowed me to really see what was best. And this was the standing ovation that I give myself as I took the leap of faith in Christ driven word and scripture to allow myself to do something that was undoubtedly passionate. I love styling. I love shopping. I love fixing images and I love delivering the message the best way I know how. What's most important to me is did it
No, we're fine. We can keep going.
okay. What's most important to this message is my experience came when I was ready to take the leap of faith. Once I knew that I didn't want to be in one box. I didn't
Mhm.
want to help one person. I didn't want to just help who came in the door. I wanted to showcase my talents organically given to me as a gift from Christ to show the world.
Right.
And once you take that leap of faith, everything else falls in line and aligns with what you actually want to be doing. It may not be what you see in front of you at that
Right.
moment, but if you allow yourself to be humbled and have grace for your journey, you will find coaches along the way that will help you get there. You will find business practices that will allow you to have better connections with friendships and relationships, and you'll probably have better transactions. To
Yeah.
be honest,
Yeah.
I definitely am led by Christ, and I really value the coaching aspect of having you sit next to me and presently guide me through this process, because it is so important to me that I find where my heart is and where it lies, so I can take others on the journey with me. So
Because
I love it.
imagine when you took that leap of faith in that moment, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you quit in that moment, and then all of a sudden, if you had the teaching I had growing up and you started to doubt and start, oh, my heart's so deceitful, my heart's so wicked, oh, this isn't right, and you start, it's so doubting, it's such self-doubt. Instead, what you saw is, no, this is what I'm created for, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I love, and Christ is a part of that. So if Christ is a part of that and I can keep my eyes on him, how can I go wrong? And if I am going wrong, well, guess what? What's going to happen when you keep your eyes on Christ? He's going to be like, yeah, you just need to adjust a little bit, just adjust a little bit,
Bite-sized chews.
Right.
What I do love about Christ, and what I've noticed in my journeys and many walks and many praises, many conversations, is he gives it to me in a bite-sized chew, like
Next
a sandwich.
Yeah.
Just one bite at a time. And I'm over here like, oh, well, I like eating, and I can definitely take one bite at a time. And if I'm going to be fulfilled with one bite at a time, I'm learning. And if I'm learning, I'm growing. And if I'm growing, I'm taking other people with me, because I can't do it alone.
Yep. And that's what it's all about. And even sharing your experiences and the things you've learned, like Taylor and I were bonding over some business type snafus that we've had. And it's kind of, and we were sharing it because it's like, well, I don't want you to go through that, and I don't want you to go through that. And then you share it and you go on this journey together, recognizing that we're not like, imagine that I was someone who thinks like, oh, I'm just a horrible person because I'm a human and I can't imagine in your business. Okay.
Sure.
So your business, one time you described it when I first met you in a beautiful way, where you talked about how what you really want to help people do is take that, like the beauty within them, and help them express it on the outside. So the beauty on the inside comes through on the outside. Cause like I'm not
naturally.
I'm not equipped for that. So someone like Taylor is someone who can help me, because that's not really my area of expertise.
I stay in my lane. I have one saying in my business: stick to what you know and hire a pro. And in every field,
I love it. Yeah,
it's just perfect.
Right. So when I forgot the whole point of why I was saying this, but so if let's say I was your client and I was constantly saying like, oh my gosh, I have to, who I am is not good enough, I have to let it go, I just, can you dress me up like Christ, like Christ, I need to empty myself, because people say these things. They'll say, they'll quote different things that people in the Bible have said, and it sounds so great because we hear it all the time. But the reality is that who you are matters, and God created you as you. We all, like you and I, are both made in the image and likeness of God. Okay?
Correct.
But you are going to reflect a certain aspect of God's diamond. Like you reflect a particular rainbow of the diamond.
Yes.
And I reflect a particular area of the diamond. And when we come together, we're both reflecting. And now you have multiple images of beauty going on.
Yes.
Depth and dimension. And this is why being a body is so important, because it brings the fullness, right?
Yes.
Now imagine if I, as your client, were to say, I don't want to be me because I want to be Jesus.
Yes, in his
Now,
image and likeness of
right.
God. Yes.
So yes, I do want to look like God and be like God, but I need to be Andrea.
That's where personality
I
comes
don't
into
need
play.
to be Jesus Christ. I need to be Andrea. Jesus Christ has already existed. I need to be like Jesus Christ, but I don't need his personality or his traits. And I may not
lose you.
I lose me. Mm-hmm. And God created me for a particular reason. Correct. So I think that it's important for us to embrace the identity. So being made in the image and likeness of God is very foundational.
Yes.
But it's the first step in understanding who you were created to be, understanding our hearts, understanding who we are as body, soul, and spirit, accepting that we have body, because there's a lot of Christians who look poorly on their bodies, their physical bodies, because they see it as evil. But God created it. It's not evil. It's only evil if you use it for evil, right?
Choices in life.
So we have to be stewards of that. And then from there, once we know that, you start to realize, oh, God gave me this talent. God gave me this gift. Oh, I can actually use that gift and that talent. And when I do, I'm reflecting God.
Because it's natural.
It's natural. So think about this, what you do.
Okay.
A lot of people would say, oh, Andrea has a ministry and Taylor has a business. Okay. Taylor's business is secular and Andrea's ministry is Christian. It's godly. It's spiritual. Okay. I don't see things that way anymore.
Okay.
I see what I do is just as spiritual as what you do and vice versa.
Okay.
Because what you're doing is the expression of God through you.
Correct.
And if you're doing it in accordance with his image and likeness in you, you're going to naturally lead people to God just by being you.
Absolutely.
How is that different from what I do? There is no different. It's a different expression. So I don't use the word secular anymore.
Okay.
Because my entire life, like I mentioned it at the Bible study yesterday when I was praying, God doesn't want to be our priority. He wants to be our everything. He wants to be part of our everyday. Yeah. So if everything I do, including my work as a project manager, everything you do at Top and Tier, including dressing someone, buying something, whatever, all of that is spiritual because God is a part of all of it. Correct. It's not just natural. Do you want to elaborate on that?
So, yes, but I'm going to take it back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So you were mentioning about people making choices when it came down to your heart.
Yeah.
So if it's going to deceive you, or if you're going to feel, it can be destructive. These are all choices that you have to make in order for you to have that path explored. And a big thing that I wanted to explain is I have had my heart deceive me. I have had my heart destroy me. Yeah. I have had my heart ripped out of me to the point, not physically, but realistically. I mean, to the point where like I felt it just sink to the bottom and like, where are you?
Broken, yeah.
Broken. And I wanted to give you a solution to that, because another big thing that you hit on was everyone has a different starting point. Mm-hmm. But to start, sometimes you need to know where to start. And if you don't know where to start, you kind of go in this like cycle. Yeah. Of being broken, being deceived, being lied to, being taught something that you need to undo or unlearn. One of the biggest solutions that I have that has worked for me year after year is allowing myself to be open-minded in all relationships brought to me. Meaning, I'm not gonna go to my family, to my friends to try to hype me up. I'm gonna go to a stranger.
Oh yes, you were explaining this to me and I loved it. Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, let's
talk about
let's
it.
hit on that then.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, the feeling that she just got from this is the feeling that I want you to feel from this, and I will walk you through it. My starting point by hearing me say, talk to a stranger, You hear this all the time. Do not talk to strangers. How many times do you hear mommies saying it to their daughters and to their sons? All the time. But as an adult, you have gone through some experiences that are going to allow you to benefit somebody else and walk them with you on your journey. This allows you to see a different perception of the world. It's not that we are sinful people or sinful humans. Yes, we sin, but we automatically have that choice to repent
Yes.
or to make a better choice next time. It's called a learning experience. So I did say this phrase to Andrea is I don't particularly like to go to family or friends for a time of need that I have. I rather go outside and meet somebody new. And the moment that I do, they're providing me with something that they see, meaning they don't see my past, they don't see the problems that I came with, they don't see the frustration that I had 10 minutes ago. They don't see the emotional trauma that I may have been going through. What they see is the image and likeness of God that I am walking up to them because I want to add value, because I need value as well, meaning I need wisdom, because I need to learn something. And the only way I'm going to learn something is by having someone new in my life, having a new experience, having a new conversation, having a new idea. Like, the only way you're going to get something new is by visiting a new person. And the most important thing that I can say is solution. If you bring more problems in, you create more chaos around you. Now, even though God is with you through all storms, which I do firmly believe He's not just there for the good times, He's definitely there for the bad times. But if you are solution oriented and in His image and you are walking within His word, He directs you to the person that you need at that time or environment that you need to be sustained or fulfilled with. So kind of brings me up to the heart and the intention base. When you go out to meet a stranger, you have to have intention. Okay. So you need to not just go to like a back alley. Okay. And say, I think I need to talk to you.
Yeah.
That is not what I'm saying. And that is not what I'm directing you to do. What I'm saying is there's an area that you can explore that is helpful and nurturing. And if you put yourself in the environment and you put yourself out there enough to be heard, somebody will come up to you. Somebody will want to know why you're there because you are being present. The most you can do in someone's life is be present.
Absolutely.
And when you're here with someone, like I'm here with Andrea, explaining my personal experiences to many different situations that I've been through, I'm present with her. I'm engaging with you. I'm learning from you. I'm hearing you. I'm developing a new idea.
Yeah.
And this is what I like to advise. Solution-oriented progress.
Yeah.
And until you get to that step, it does take a lot to change that course because I've noticed in earlier years, I would be like, no, don't want to, put it off. Oh, I'll work out, never did. I'll go eat something, cook something. Again, probably never did, had it ordered out. Whatever. It's just you always find an excuse for not doing something. And that's where you need to stop and look at yourself and say, let's try to find a solution here because I may be onto something, but I need a little bit more help. This is where you call to Christ. You call your Savior. You call your daddy to just be like, can you just let me know where to go? And He will lead you the right way because you're asking. Ask, seek, knock.
Yeah.
Once you do those three things, you allow yourself to see something different.
Yeah.
This does cause change transformation, but once done and in progress and slow steps, you see change.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love what you shared about talking to a stranger because what you explained to me at the time was that when you go to family or friends that have known you, they haven't seen you change, right? So when you're in that place where you're kind of bummed and down, meeting a stranger allows you to meet someone who's meeting you in the present.
Yes.
So if you're going through a problem or you're experiencing difficulty, you're going through a rough patch, and you say, no more, I'm going to be solution oriented, I need to make a change. When you go meet a stranger in that place, they're meeting that person that you have just decided to become without the influence of the change you just went through.
Correct.
Does that make sense? Like,
I hope it makes sense.
Following, because I followed you. And what's beautiful is like I'm going through like therapy like thing with Dr. Leaf, and her basic thing is really like re-engineering and reconceptualizing traumatic thoughts and moments that we had. And within us, she explains, and I'm going through a book of hers through a study called The Perfect You, within us is eternity.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this moment, like you and I are in this moment and you're watching, you're in this moment too. Well,
Love
this
you,
moment, yeah, virtual hugs. In this moment is shaped by what we've gone through.
For sure.
Right? So in a way, this moment is shaped by our past. Somehow we got here. So this present moment has the past in it.
Yes.
But it also has the future in it, because the future, this moment is going to impact the future.
Prepares you.
Okay. Now, some examples of how that happens. And I read this in a book about someone who had a near-death experience. And when I read it the way she wrote it, it really rocked me. It was such like one of those revelations where you realize how every moment's important. So in this moment right now, you're listening to this video, you're hearing what we're saying, and it may or may not be having an impact, but it's possible that it's having some sort of impact. And it's also possible that it's going to speak to you in some way and you may share it with someone. Okay. So let's say you have a friend named, Maria, and you're telling Maria, oh, I was watching this video, Taylor and Andrew did this video, and you tell Maria, and Maria's like, oh, that's really cool. Boom. Moment of impact. I look at it as a ripple. Okay. Moment of impact. Ripple. So now Maria is impacted by the ripple. And now Maria is going to go through her own rock based on what we just said, because she just heard it. Boom. Rock. Moment of impact. Ripple. And now not only does it impact mine and your future, because we may talk about it with other people.
For sure.
We've learned things from each other today already, right?
Yes.
So it's impacting our future. But now all of you, it's impacting your future. And then all the people indirectly being impacted by what we're saying right now. And this is true not just for us in this conversation, but every moment.
Yes.
This is why, to me, knowing our neighbors, meeting strangers, new people, not just networking, but forming and building relationships is so important and must be intentional. Because when it is intentional, you understand the power that it has. Right. Because we're not just here in the physical, we're also here in the supernatural.
Yes.
Remember what I taught in the class.
Yes.
So while you and I are seated here, our spirit man is also seated here, and they're engaging. Our spirit people are engaging. Yeah. And it's building connections and forming connections.
That's how I feel energy.
Yes, exactly. Because it really, in scientific words, it is energy. Yep. And you watching, we're also connecting, because the spirit realm is not limited as the physical is.
Yes.
So we can reach you. That's why sometimes you listen to something, whether it's music or a preaching or a teaching or whatever, and you feel it, you're like, you're watching
get a little
something.
Jittery, get some goosebumps.
Yeah, TV, or you start crying. Why? It's because the energy, the spirit has just moved.
It's also consumed you. So once something consumes you, you're going to feel it, you're going to breathe it, you're going to speak it, you're going to live it.
This is why what you're putting into you is so important.
Correct. So that's a great segue and lead in to being filled the right way of how you feed yourself, like literally food, how you smell, how you see, what you hear. All of these are aspects of your spirit man really needing to, they crave, we all crave something. And if you feed the craving, you need to make sure you're feeding it the right way. There's no problem with craving something. But if you crave something with a bad intention,
Yeah.
be ready to follow that intention with accountability and to be sure that you're more than likely going to learn a lesson. Because if you don't know that going up front, you're not preparing yourself the right way.
Right.
Now, you can stop it. You have choices in life that will allow you to have the opportunity to stop what you're doing. But if you don't make that choice to stop, you will find yourself circling. And when you find yourself circling, that's a mess. And you need to step away from that circle. You need to evaluate almost like a bird's eye view.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever heard that line, but just kind of like you're overseeing something.
Yeah.
When you oversee, you allow your emotions to be set back. Your emotions stay circling, but your logic elevates and like, all right, trigger,
Yes.
let me see something. Okay, let me look down, and then you really have a bigger scope of what you're viewing, and now you're able to learn the lesson from the experience, or you're able to actually internalize it and be like, all right, we need to make some changes. Here's what we're going to do. Here's
Yes.
a game plan. Here's a starting point. Once you have a starting point, you are already off to the races. You are ready for success because you made the first step to realize this is not where I want to be, or this is not how I want to feel. This is not what I want to see. Something along those lines. One of those three things will come up into play.
No, that's good. Perspective is key. And I have taught on kind of how to take those negative emotions. Sometimes you're going through something. Yes. And I love how you described bird's eye view, coming above the situation and seeing the whole picture.
Yes.
Because when you're in it, your perspective is one. But so then it's like change your perspective. What does it look like on the other side? This works a lot too with relationships.
Yes.
If you're having a conflict in communication, somebody's not understanding.
Yes.
The purpose of communication is not agreement.
Yes.
That's why a lot of people fight in relationships, because they're looking for agreement.
Correct.
The purpose of communication is understanding, connection, right?
Yes.
So the whole point is, okay, you're upset about something that I did. I'm so sorry. I don't understand, because I'm not you. I don't understand why it's upsetting you. So now what
the person doesn't really understand why either.
Well, sometimes. But this is where those who are aware can walk the person through coming to understand, why is this bothering you? And sometimes you have to hear what they're saying, even if it's not coming out in their words. Because sometimes there is a trauma or something. They've walked through something that's created a perspective, which what I'm going through in the neurocycle does cover that. So with every memory and every thought, it creates a perception, or you could even use the word filter.
Yes, it is a great
It creates a filter. So when you go through something, and let's say we have a very shared moment, something happens, the same exact thing. You experience it one way, and I experience it a different way. Yeah. It doesn't have to be bad and good. It could even be like
just different.
When you hear like Carolyn, Dr. Leaf, I have to say Dr. Leaf, because I want to be respectful.
I get it.
What she uses an example of one day that she was sitting with family, and a wind blew by, and her son got very philosophical, and it was like thinking about the wind, and she started to think about all this scientific stuff and how it relates, and their minds
differ.
It's called a qualia, where we go through the same exact scenario. Okay. But we have a very individual and unique experience, even though the same thing just happened. Okay. So what's the reality? What happened, or our perception of it?
Our perception of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we always have to do is, whenever
reality is going to go on and on, like over the course of years, reality is just going to happen.
But sometimes our perception, like the example I gave, is a very pleasant one, but there's times where the perception can be false.
Yeah, this is where deception comes in.
Created by a bad narrative because of experience and trauma and all this stuff, right? So the key that we have to get to is like, okay, this happened, I had a perception. It doesn't mean the perception is not reality. It also does not mean that
but it's valid.
Exactly, it is valid. It doesn't mean that you're wrong in having that perception, because your life experiences have led you to have that perception.
Correct.
But what matters is, how did God design you, and what is the truth? So what you were saying, in what you were saying, it's okay, things are not, whatever, going where they need to go. How do I stop that?
this is where the solutions come in.
Yeah.
So this is where you have to take yourself out of what you're viewing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I usually do is I journal. So I journal all the time, all the time. One of the best things that I learned is after every single day, I'll just sit down with a journal or a notepad and I'll just write how my day went. Write what I learned, write what I wanted to change, write who I worked with, write a conflict, which by the way, conflicts bring you closer to people. So do never be afraid of conflict.
Yeah.
I love conflict. Like, because it allows me to learn.
Right.
So if I'm asking something and I don't agree with something, I'm like, hey, can I learn something from you? Yes. Am I going to get into an argument or a fight with it? No. Am I going to maybe like poke the bear? Sure. Because I want to learn something. I'm trying to pull
You're
information
trying to
out.
understand, and what that
The
does
full
is
story.
it builds connection.
100%. This is what allows me to create solutions, because now that we're both on the same page, or multiple people are on the same page, now we can cohesively create an idea, create more of a bond, create the relationship, grow it further, add value. Look at that. You just change what you're looking at and what you want to see.
Yeah.
That's how I find
And
reality.
change the direction.
Yeah, exactly.
So you start walking in the direction of that thing that you want to see. But
Yes.
if you never take the time and be intentional about it, how are you going to get there?
Yes.
So I want to, as we close,
Thank you.
I want to highlight something here.
Takeaways.
Because as we're made in the image and likeness of God, last week we talked about a number of different aspects to God's nature, right?
Absolutely.
Which we all have.
Yes.
So like God, you are created to be loved. You are created to be pure and righteous. You are created to create.
Yes.
You are created to judge and make whole, which is part of solutions driven. And you're created to nurture and parent and coach. Okay?
Not a doubt.
So do you see now, as we've had this discussion even before,
Sure,
different elements of who God is expressed in what you do and how you live your life?
Do I see what God has for me? What did
So,
you say?
for example, we talked
Just
about all
reshape
those.
the word
So,
or the ask.
do you see the expression of God in you in terms of the aspects of the different natures of God that we talked about last week?
Absolutely, I understand now. Pardon. I see his expression through me because I've allowed myself to humble myself and put my ego away for what I want, for what I know he sees in me. So because I have my target set on Christ, I'm able to fully live every day in his image, because I allow myself to be put in the situations that are brand new to me, to be in front of people that I never thought even knew or existed, and to also add value to what I know my purpose is, because my passion bleeds when you talk to me about what I love to do. Because the heart and the intention behind what I do is change, transformation. And every time I get a chance to work with a new client, a new fit, a new model, a new environment, I am fully immersed because I'm present in that moment to deliver them through their journey with me. We all have a journey, but you need someone to coach you through those journeys, and you need different coaches to allow you to make different changes in your life. And it may come with time, or it may come with a different purpose, but because I know mine, it allows me to fulfill myself every day, because Christ gave me the opportunity to change, and I took that chance.
So I'm going to use Taylor as an illustration right now of looking at your individual purpose based on your talents and gifts. Okay. I'm just winging this right here. I did not plan this. Okay. So for those ladies who know me, I use a diamond a lot, right?
She does.
So God is a diamond. We are diamonds, and we all reflect him. And the essence of the diamond is love, purity, and light. Okay, because that's what it reflects.
Absolutely.
And then we talked about how God is creator. Okay, yes. So in your business, you are a creator.
Yes, I am.
You are creating things all the time. That's how your mind works.
New personalities, new styles, new
a lot
colors,
of what you talked about today involves creation.
Absolutely.
You even use the word a lot, create.
Correct.
As do I.
For sure.
Okay.
Sisters.
So create. Then there's the whole aspect of God is judge in terms of he brings wholeness and okay, that comes in the expression when you're talking about solutions.
Yes.
I want to bring a solution. I don't want to focus on what's wrong, because you're like, okay, something is wrong. We need to make it right. Solution.
Yes.
Do you see that?
Correct.
So you're expressing God through your ability to create, your entrepreneurship. You're also expressing God when you're looking at solutions for your life and other people's lives.
Yeah.
And you're expressing God in your ability to work with people and coach them to become the best of who they are and to look that way.
For sure.
So that's you expressing God as Father.
Absolutely.
Because you're nurturing, you're guiding, you're teaching, you're providing wisdom.
Yes.
And all of those things are tied into who He is as love, and you are as love and purity. Because you cannot create, judge, and teach
Correct.
or be a parent if you are not motivated by love and light and purity. So do you see how that all ties together?
Yes. You have to love people for where they start and for where they're going. And if you love people from where they start, you allow that person to be open-minded to you, trust you, communicate to you, and you find that you're more similar than you are at odds.
Yes.
And that's my favorite part when I get a chance to work with clients with me, that they're like, I didn't realize that we were so similar, or I didn't realize that you had this struggle as well, or I didn't realize that you saw somebody else go through it. The reason why I put myself in the area to see all of the problems, frustration, and concerns of individuals is because now I know how to fix them. It's easier for me to find out what you're going through by asking all of the pain point questions, because it allows me to be nurturing to you through the whole process. The identity that I put myself in allows me to grow, and I will never step out of bounds or my path and journey through Christ, because I'm constantly growing. Probably going to bring me to tears. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Truly.
But do you see how, like, you're every day
100%.
in just you being you, you are expressing God. You're reflecting Him, which means you're a diamond. Now, like this diamond, which I don't know if you can see, there's like little dings and scratches and stuff, right?
To all of us.
But you're still the diamond, right? And then what God does is He starts to, when you go to Him and you pray and you journal and you're working this stuff out, He's filling those little dings with gold. And He's making you whole. And then that is what makes you uniquely you and makes you different.
I love how you structured your you are filled with gold.
With gold, yeah.
Those are my colors.
Oh, are they? That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have this one where I was trying to do something that didn't look as pretty as I thought. But when you fill your little holes with gold and you allow God to heal you, instead of that hole being filled with nastiness and bitterness, resentment that creates fungus and weeds and all that, when you allow God to heal you and fill those holes and dings with His gold, you actually get a beautiful flower growing out of it.
He waters the increase.
Yep. So that's it. Well, thank you, Miss Taylor,
yes,
for joining us.
I love it. I love it. I love it. If you guys learned anything today, is to genuinely bring your problems, bring your frustrations, bring anything that you have to Christ, and allow yourself to talk to a stranger. Even talk to me. If you don't know me, talk to me. I'm a big personality. I have a lot to say. Usually comes out with no filter. So if you are that person, come hit me up.
And you know what happens when you go to God looking for solutions, like you said, seek, knock, right? God will give you a response. Take Him out of the box that you may have put Him in. Yep. Because sometimes the solution He's going to give you isn't going to be from this voice like, Taylor. It's going to be from that stranger that you meet, or that friend that you talk to, or that little kid that you're watching, like out of the mouth of babes sometimes. And God will give you the solution all the time in different ways. You just have to be open to it. So I just want to thank you guys for watching this. If you're blessed by it, this is a public video, so you're welcome to share. If you have questions for either one of us, you can always reach out, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye, guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Bye.